Hey Sailors, welcome to the crew. I'm Sea Lord Janda, and this is my Let's Play of Wargame Red Dragon. We are starting campaign 4 out of 5, and our second and final Warsaw Pact campaign, well, Red 4 campaign. Climb Mount Narodnaya, set 1984, we take the part of the Soviet Union. After 4 decades of tension over the status of the Kuril Islands, diplomatic relationships between the USSR and Japan have sunk into an all-time low. When a joint US-Japanese fleet sails too close to the Soviet naval base of Vladivostok, this inoffensive naval exercise triggers an unexpectedly violent reaction.
(1945 to 1975). Japan-Soviet relationships are poisoned by the Soviet occupation of the Kuril Islands. Hence, the two countries have not been able to ratify a formal peace treaty since the end of World War II. 1979 to 1980. The Soviet Union increases troops and naval assets in the Kuril area. Japan retaliates by hardening its stance towards the USSR and increasing its military spending. 1982. Japan allows the deployment of U.S. advanced F-16 bombers on its soil. The USSR answers by transferring SS-20 missiles from Europe. 1983. The Japanese Prime Minister declares his intent to turn Japan into an unsinkable aircraft carrier. The reply from the USSR is immediate. In an era of modern technology, unsinkable aircraft carriers do not exist. November 1984. The joint U.S.-Japanese naval exercise Fleet X-85 in the Sea of Japan gets as close as 500 nautical miles from Vladivostok. The Soviet fleet is put on high alert. December 4th, 1984. Fleet X ends, but Soviet Navy intelligence and the Politburo are convinced that it was just a rehearsal for a real imminent strike. The green light is given for a preemptive strike on Japan and its U.S. naval bases. December 6th, 1984. When the coded message, "Climb Mount Narodnaya," is transmitted to Soviet forces, several airborne and naval infantry divisions are ready to strike Japan. At dawn, the first wave of Soviet paratroopers lands on Japan, while a mechanized thrust strikes from the Kuril Islands.
Comrade, our amphibious and airborne invasion in Japan is a success, and Tokyo is about to fall. Now it's up to you to secure our western flank. Roger that. Your aim is to protect Osaka, whilst neutralizing at least 3 enemy airports. So, airport, 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 airport. But beware, the Americans will launch a powerful counterattack in your sector. Colonel Borodin, carry on with the briefing. Thank you, General. Our first wave is made up of parachute and marine infantry units, supported by the aircraft carrier Minsk. Our marines can land in 4 sectors to the north and west, then we will have to capture harbors and airports in order to route our heavy reinforcements. The Kuznetsov Naval Group will support us from the southeast. It can transport combat airplanes, offensive helicopters, and marine or helicopter-borne infantry battalions. One last thing, comrades, beware of the enemy pocket around Gobu Airport. Their counterattacks can threaten Osaka if you are not careful. Understood. You have 16 days to achieve your goals, to control at least 3 airports, even 4 or 5 if possible. Do not disappoint us. Yes, sir. So it's pretty simple as far as the campaign objectives go. 5 airports: Gobu, Tottori, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and Kanoya. 3 of them is a minor victory, 4 of them is a major victory, 5 of them is a total victory. We start off with very little actually on the map, it would appear. Specifically, the 9th Guards Rifle Regiment, which has a couple of FOBs, a couple of infantry command units, cargo trucks, a bunch of Motostrelki with BMPs, some Boryusas, and a couple of scout cars. And then the Independent Tank Regiment, which has a couple of T-72 and BMP command vehicles, FOBs, trucks, 2 Tunguska SAM launchers, 32 T-72s, most of them T-72As, 8 T-72B1s, and a couple of recon cars. A pretty heavy force, to be fair, but nothing crazy. I mean, there's not very numerous, ultimately. aside from that, we have quite a few forces at sea still. And 2 carriers, Task Force Minsk and... Okay, Admiral Kuznetsov is actually not deployed yet. So we're pretty much depending on Task Force Minsk right now. All known American naval assets in the area, but I'm sure there's some. So there's nothing down south, right? Yeah, currently. There are a lot of sectors that are worth... If we could take this is worth 15 points per turn. 5, 3, 5, 10 for there, but 15 per turn if we could take that is a lot, honestly. We're going to have to land submarines over here, clearly, if we want to take all 5 airports. 3 is pretty easy, I think. We would probably just, with 16 turns, to take 3, we would probably just pile everything into, like, Osaka or this immediate coast and grab the 3. It looks like, okay, there's a crossing here, but there's not a crossing here. So, yeah, I mean, if we grabbed all 3 of these, we could just ford up in Tsuyama and Yamaguchi and probably be good, but that's not the goal. 5 is the goal. So there's nothing down south currently, but we do have forces up north. Task Force Minsk consists of Minsk herself, but she's off screen, and then 4 Sovremeny class destroyers, 12 Nanushka 3s, I forget what these technically are, missile boats basically, 4 Munas, and 8 attack helicopters with air-to-sea missiles. And then additionally Minsk deploys a fighter squadron of 8 Yak 141s, which are pretty solid fighters actually. Long-range and short-range missiles, R-77 and R-73. Besides that, it appears we have 4 regiments up here ready to go. The 106th Naval Infantry Regiment, directly attached to Task Force Minsk, has basically basic infantry marines, the Morskaya Pekhota, which are pretty decent, but basic vehicles, plus Factoria with missiles. They've also got a couple of Strelas, 4 T-55s, bit of recon, and a small naval force of their own with a Najin, 2 Nanushka 3s, and 4 Shmel riverboats. Then we have the 390th Naval Infantry Regiment, which has also pretty much the same composition, it appears. Morskaya Pekhota, Factoria, Strelas, T-55s, yeah. Some TO-55s and Sturm-S's, and also a similar naval contingent, but with a few amphibious T-55s and Urals. This regiment is slightly bigger and heavier. Then we have 2 aerial units, the 217th VDV Regiment, with some command vehicles, a bunch of VDV and BTRs, which are pretty decent airborne troops, some rocket artillery, some mortars, quite a few mortars actually, some scout vehicles, and some Su-85 tank destroyers, which are very basic. And the Spetsnaz Brigade, which has some command units, trucks, VDV, Factoria, Igla, a few Spetsnaz. This is actually almost entirely not Spetsnaz, but it's just a pretty decent airborne infantry brigade. But a few Spetsnaz in BTRs and Razvedka, a recon chopper, some grenade launcher armed scout vehicles, and 4 concourse launchers, plus Su-85s. Then reinforcement wise, we have naval and land forces available, lots of them. You get 10 points a turn for holding Osaka, which we can't lose, or we just lose. And that's all we get right now, so until we take more... There's a lot of sectors which can give us more, like, let's see, 2, 7, 10, 15, 30, 35, 45, 50. 60 points per turn is theoretically possible, but probably outrageous, but, okay. For naval forces, we can call in Task Force Kuznetsov itself, which, you know, another aircraft carrier. That has a squadron with 4 Udaloy 2 class destroyers, 4 Nanushka 3s, 8 Tarantul 3s, 4 Munas, and 8 attack helos. Then the Minsk Air Group can be reinforced with 1st Naval Strike Squadron, 6 Yak-38s with 500 kilo AoE bombs, and 2nd Naval Strike Squadron, 6 Yak-38s with 500 kilo napalm bombs, both of which are decent. Land forces, we have the 98th Guards VDV Division, Minsk Marine Brigade, and 1st Guards Tank Division. Although most of it, I guess, is deployed already. 98th Guards VDV, there's the 331st VDV Regiment with command vehicles, VDV, Concours, infantry, recon, Concours, basically similar to these. 1st Independent VDV Battalion, which has some Skreznets, bunch of Strelas, and more VDV infantry. VDV Supply Company with recon and a bunch of trucks. Okay. 2nd Independent VDV Battalion, which has a ton of Concours and Concours M for tank killing. Well, and Concours vehicles as well, so yeah, this is very much an anti-tank battalion. 1065th VDV, these do all have descriptions, I should read them more, but 1065th VDV Regiment, which has VDV plus anti-helicopter weaponry, and okay, this is more of an anti-air type unit. And VDV Recon Company, which has a bunch of recon. The Minsk Marine Brigade has 84th Naval Tank Battalion with 32 T-55 AM2s, which are pretty decent tanks. Also 24 more landable by amphibious craft, some Concours, a couple of Nanuskas, a Schmel, 1 BTR-70. Naval Anti-Aircraft Company with Bryusas, Strelas, more Bryusas and Strelas, and some Schmels. Naval Supply Company with a bunch of trucks. Naval Anti-Tank Battalion with a bunch of Factoria, some T-55s, and a lot of Sturms and Concours. And then the 1st Guards Tank Division, this is basically just support forces for over here, I think. Anti-Aircraft Company. Does it say where all of these can be deployed? Okay, I call these in Foxtrot, or maybe I just deploy these wherever the Minsk is, I think. These I deploy out of Bravo. And then move by air initially, so they can move very far. And these do deploy in Osaka. So the Anti-Aircraft Company has Strelas, Osas, and Bryusas, so anti-aircraft. 12th Guards Anti-Tank Battalion has Concours, SPG-9s. And the MLRS Company has 8 220mm rocket artillery pieces. So what are we calling in? I would say let's immediately get Task Force Kuznetsov deployed. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but Major, I can confirm that the Kuznetsov has arrived at the scene. It has marine or helicopter-borne troops and offensive aircraft ready to attack the enemy system from behind. Roger that. We should use helicopter-borne troops for inland assault. The Marines could land in Nankoku with air or ground support. Beware, however, the enemy has a strong presence in this area. There's no airport there, so it's not really a specific target. But I guess basically, look, we're going to take Gobu as straight away as possible, depending how heavily defended it is. And then once we've taken Gobu, these guys push down here, and will eventually reach Hiroshima. The Marines from up here basically need to target, like, Karatsu, Nagasaki, and eventually Kanoya. And support wherever else, but... Did that... Okay, that unlocked a bunch of new forces as well, the Kuznetsov Marine Brigade and Air Group. So yes, Kuznetsov initially has no aircraft, but... 1st Naval Anti-Ship Squadron, 4 MiG-29Ks, air-to-sea missiles, and air-to-air missiles. 2nd Naval Anti-Ship Squadron with 6 Su-27s. These appear to be actually better for air-to-air purposes. And they have better range for air-to-ship purposes as well, but they only have 1 missile. the MiG-29's at 4, so a heavier hitting group. And then, oh, and there's also a Kuznetsov Air Brigade with DSHV Regiment. This has a bunch of Spetsnaz with Mi-24s, plus VDV and Sapori. Mi-24s are kind of mediocre attack choppers, but they're attack choppers. There's also Mi-4s, which are very obsolete attack choppers, but you know what? They actually have better missiles, practically speaking. Better accuracy. Slightly less AP power, better accuracy. And some Spetsnaz recon as well. 319th Helicopter Regiment, which has a bunch of Mi-24s, which are pretty much our nice our nice attack helicopters. Various types. Also the Ka-29s, which are much cheaper and more numerous. Naval Anti-Ship Company, which has 12 helicopters with anti-ship missiles. And the DSHV Recon Company with 6 recon helicopters. Land Forces, the Kuznetsov Marine Brigade has an independent naval regiment with Marines, T-55s, and that's about it. But, well, Marines, T-55s, Recon, TO-55, Sturms, and some extra ships. And more Marines and such landed by sea. 345th VDV Regiment has some basic anti-air and top-notch VDV and Iglas. Strelas. Yeah, this is pretty much the anti-air regiment over here. And then the independent VDV Regiment has some VDV and also has a lot of concours, so that's the anti-tank regiment over here. So I think we need to pick where we're going to strike first. Also, I need to see how are we going to handle this. Can we split our forces and still like get away with something here? Because we have no initiative, so I can't move this turn anyway. So I guess we see how it develops. I kind of hope they attack us, honestly, because I'm pretty sure we can probably hold them off, but splitting our forces is going to be very tricky. Okay, the Minsk Task Group could land here, but that would be the very unambitious way of doing things. Let's assume these guys take Gobu and then Obama and aim to take Tatori eventually. The Kuznetsov group will land at Nonkoku, get all those sweet reinforcement points, and then they'll like join up here and help secure these 3. That leaves the Minsk group to take Nagasaki and Kanoya. There are enemy naval forces in the area. There's also just a ton of enemy forces on the ground, period, which... yeah. Which island is this? Is this Iwo Jima, or... I don't know what island that's supposed to be exactly. It might be. But it's not to scale if it is. Check a map. A real map, I mean. No, it's supposed to be Ryukyu, I think. Probably. Or maybe it's supposed to be Okinawa, specifically, actually. Where is... in fact... it's probably supposed to be Okinawa. It's kind of hard to say. Most likely it's Okinawa. It's one of the Ryukyu Islands, anyway. Maybe it's just supposed to be all of them, generically. But it's not to scale, it's much closer than the real ones would be. But it's an American air base, so it's clearly supposed to represent one of those. Anyway, so that's essentially the plan. So let's get moving then. I don't think it really matters whether we go to Echo or Golf, so we'll go to Golf. No good, that gives us recon on all the forces sitting around here. It's mainly Japanese that I see right now. The Japanese don't have super heavy forces mainly, like these tanks are not that great, and these infantry are not that great either. Jesus Christ, those are... I'm going to assume the Japanese import of the Abrams. Maru Shiki? Is that what they call them? It's not actually... Oh, it's a homegrown thing. My bad, I'm sorry. I insulted Japan there. Built fully in Japan except for the gun. Okay. But those are very, very heavy and are not going to be too easy to kill. Infantry, pretty light. Engineers, not a problem, although they... Well, these are not a problem either. Infantry School Regiment. And these are kind of decent infantry. Especially with those. The tow helicopters I also just don't have a solution... I guess I do have a solution too, actually. Not that easy to crack, though. Anyway, other moves. What am I doing with the Spetsnaz and the VDV, and what am I doing with these guys? Okay, well, 106th Regiment will follow up here. Naval Infantry Regiment. I guess the question is, are they landing over here? Or are they landing, like, right here to try to cut off reinforcements? Well, I'll move them to Hotel Sector. Tatori is held by an F-86 strike squadron with napalm, a light infantry regiment with some howitzers and such, and a tank regiment with mostly cheap tanks, but tanks. And I can't actually land right there anyway, I can land here. Or here. They would probably have a chance to break through here. That would potentially free these guys up for a push on Gobu. Thing is, not a lot. Like, the Minsk Marines are going to get, and the VDV between them are going to get quite a lot of reinforcements yet up here. Although they've got to take this whole island, which is pretty densely populated with NATO troops. There's not a lot of units over here. You don't have enough initiative left to disembark anyway, so you're going to sit here for now, but kind of wondering if maybe they should attack Obama. We'll see. Okay, and then the VDV and Spetsnaz. Do they go in right now? Yes or no? Do we reckon they could take Karatsu? There's literally no way of knowing, and if they get, like, isolated and wiped out over there, they will just, well, they'll get wiped out, which would be bad. But they're pretty good infantry. Landing straight in there is not too safe, to be honest. 2 regiments, though, I mean... They'd have a shot at least, surely. Okay, that's a gambit and a half. I mean, if the Minsk force doesn't relieve them quickly, they're definitely just dead anyway. Naval infantry, naval infantry. Okay, first reinforcements we want to call in then. Tanks to reinforce this sector, or... I don't have any naval reinforcements, right? Not really. Just, well, bombers and such, but... These aren't good for a naval combat, so whatever... Oh, here, in fact. That I think we can demolish. I think we have enough missile power in the Minsk task force to overwhelm the South Korean Eastern Fleet. Ah, and there's the South Korean Southern Fleet. That could be a little more troublesome. It's a lot of ships altogether. These are really only good for naval fighter duties. Not that clear-cut. These do not have the range to engage over there. They don't have the range to engage over here, so they're going to sit tight. What have I actually run into here? An artillery regiment with, okay, to be fair, plenty of light infantry and then artillery. And 8 Super Cobras. Oh boy. The artillery regiment is not a problem. The Super Cobras are a problem. Although, yeah, no, we have very minimal AA here. Just these Iglas, really. That's not gonna cut it against 8 Super Cobras. Found the Americans, though. U.S. Marine Corps Helicopter Company. Hopefully we can engage the 2 South Korean fleets separately. If I were playing them, I would obviously combine them and then attack Minsk. And if they succeeded in doing that, I think it would basically just be game over for the Soviets, but I doubt they'll actually achieve it. What do I have in the way of, then, 98th Guards VDV Regiment, anti-tank, anti-air, VDV, anti-tank, anti-air, okay, let's triple down. The 1065th VDV Regiment. Parachute Battalion specializes in short and mid-range combat, has autocannons and Strela missiles, can defend a sector for a short period of time. Use it for defending position attacked by enemy anti-aircraft support. I think they really mean attacked by enemy aircraft support. But this unit has Iglas, it has Strelas. The sad thing is, even the Strela 2450 is outranged by the Super Cobra, but it's got at least a fighting chance. Let's call this in and get it in here. If we can get ourselves established firmly ashore, then 3 regiments have a good fighting chance of holding on long enough for the naval infantry and such to arrive. Especially, let's see, neighboring sectors. Infantry regiment, light infantry, rocket artillery, not worried about it. Anti-tank battalion. I mean, anti-tank, but that's kind of useless against our infantry, so. In Nagasaki, 16th Infantry Regiment, light infantry, rocket artillery. U.S. Air Force 1st Strike Squadron, 4 A-10 Thunderbolts. That's a problem. 3rd Helicopter Squadron, Cobras, and Towcopters. That's a problem. 4th Tank Battalion, bunch of light to medium tanks. A problem, but not a... I'm less worried about that than I am about the Thunderbolts and the Cobras. And their own anti-aircraft company with Hawks and short arrows. Don't have any aircraft, so not worried about it yet. Okay. Kuznetsov, can you move this turn already? Yes, you can. Okay. Let's go to Naval Sector Tango. Oh, and that will reveal what we're dealing with in Nankoku. Airborne Battalion. Pretty good infantry with helicopters. Recon Chopper with anti-helicopter abilities. Cobras. Artillery Battalion with rocket artillery. Helicopter Battalion. Yeah, we're gonna need helicopter. We're gonna need AA for this. Engineer Battalion with infantry. And anti-aircraft company with a lot of anti-aircraft. What the hell is a gun tank, Japan? What is this anime bullshit? Okay. So, honestly... 2 saves. It's pretty much as simple as... We don't necessarily need a total victory here, although it should probably be doable. But we just need to get ourselves established here. We need to not get wiped out during the landing process. Thanks for watching, sailors. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, consider leaving a like or subscribing. New parts will be up every other day for the most part. Or you can watch live on Twitch once a week. Have a nice day, sailors. This is Sea Lord Jenda, signing off.